Brandyn, it's great to see you again. Welcome to the Simplifying Entrepreneurship Podcast.
Thanks, Pete. Anytime I get to hang out with you and learn from you is an awesome experience.
Likewise. And you know what? A year or so ago, we didn't even know each other, but we've spent some time together talking about different things. And, one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the podcast here, we just think alike on a lot of different stuff, and really excited today to talk about, that question to some that's so paralyzing when somebody comes up to you and says, "What do you do?"
And changing the way you answer that question can actually make you money. And it's really simple. I actually built a huge segment of my clientele in my last business just by changing the way I answer that question. And it's really a brilliant framework that is so easy to apply. I call it the PSA framework, and that's problem, solution, and life after. So when you start with a problem, people start to pay attention.
Starting with the problem is so important. I'll let you go at that. Why do you think starting with a problem is so important? And why do you think that changes things?
Well, first of all, nobody answers the question in that way. Even when people ask that question, they're generally being nice. That's what's expected. And every single person has been asked, "What do you do?" a million times in their life. But when you start with the problem that you solve, suddenly people pay attention. They're like, "Oh, wait a second. He's not talking about them. He's talking about something that I may encounter or somebody that I love may encounter." Again, it's so funny how I will continue to use basic problems as an example. I live in a townhouse. I don't have a yard. But if somebody says, if I ask somebody, "What do you do?" and they say, "I make sure little old ladies never have to push their own lawnmower because nobody should be 80 years old and cutting their own grass."
Yeah.
Well, I'm not 80 years old. I live in a townhouse. I don't have a yard. But guess what? My mother-in-law is that person. And until very recently, she was mowing her own yard. So that resonates with me.
Yeah, for sure. That's a great way to look at it. It's when we're talking about that sort of stuff, when we bring that sort of thing up, it's not always about the problem of the person in front of you. It may be within their network. And I think that's a great way because they're going to immediately associate with the fact that, maybe I don't need that problem, but boy, oh boy, I know somebody that does. And that's your door in.
And it's the way to be remembered. Again, you meet so many new people and they meet so many new people. The way to be remembered is to be associated with the problem that you solve. Even if you give them a business card and you say, "I am a," insert your career title, or "I do this," that's automatically about me as the speaker, not you as the listener. So they come home, and we've all done it. We've gone to networking events. We get home at the end of the day, we pull out a stack of business cards, and we're like, "I don't even remember talking to that guy. Which one was he?"
Yeah.
But when you cement yourself in memory by being associated with that problem, they immediately know this guy can help me or somebody I know or somebody I love live better. Starting.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Brandyn, I really like sort of the framework also because when somebody asks you about yourself, they don't necessarily want to know about you. They want to know how you can help them, right? And
Absolutely.
It's like, to be honest, most people are more concerned with themselves. They're doing it, as you said earlier, a nicety to say, "Okay, so what do you do?" type thing. But they're also thinking in their head, they're thinking, "Okay, how can this help make my life better, my future better, all of those things?" And from that perspective, when you lead with the problem, you're saying, I want to leave them wanting to know more. So a great question, a great sort of thing like that to get that person who's in front of you to ask what it is more. And then after they've got the problem, where do they go next?
Absolutely. So from there, you introduce the problem that you solve and then position yourself as the solution, or your service,
Right,
or your business as the solution to that problem.
Yep.
So again, no 80-year-old woman should have to push her own lawnmower. At Joe's Lawn Junkies, we make sure. So automatically you've associated your product, your service, your business as the solution to that problem. And because they remember the problem and they resonated with that, they're automatically looking for, what will I ever do if that problem comes up? You're automatically associated with that. Now, the great thing is the last part, it's the life after. When you can submit and paint that climactic scene about how your life is going to be better
Yeah.
afterwards. Um, that's what to your point, it was a nicety, but the reason that we are all self-centered or self-focused is because that's the function of the human brain, is to preserve our own
For
life.
sure.
So we need to know that life can be better.
I like that. I like that. And you know what? One of the other things, Brandyn, when you look at this sort of PSA framework that you have laid out here, I like the fact that it's short, and it's short and quick. And from that perspective, you don't have long when you're having, you've got to catch their attention quickly. I like to say sort of you've got in that 5 to 10 second framework, and after that you've lost them. So if you're leading with that problem, getting into the solution right after that, then they're going to listen to the life after, because if you lost them on the problem and solution, they're not even going to get that far. So by leading through that sort of framework, then they're going to say, wow, this, they're thinking about it as you're talking, and they're seeing it's creating this vision, and away you go. I think that's a good way to lay it out.
Absolutely. Well, I'll go on the complete opposite end of the spectrum because I've had this answer or one similar to it when I ask somebody, hey, what do you do? Well, immediately it's, I am an astrophysicist. I create long equation and automatically I'm like, I can't do simple math without my iPhone anymore. I'm out. But you think of somebody like Neil deGrasse Tyson, who's an amazing educator and probably the smartest person on the planet. That may not be an exaggeration, but what do you do, Neil? I help people understand the complexities of the universe in a way that anyone can comprehend. Most people never understand what they see when they look into the night sky. My show, Star Talk Radio, lets everyone participate in the wonder that's the universe. So again, you can get even the most complicated and far out there professions can simplify this message, use this framework to bring people in. We've all been outside.
Sure.
We've all looked up at the stars and said, hey, what is that? Now he makes it accessible. So it works for anything, whether it's a one-on-one service based, whether it's something really overly complicated that I'll never be able to fully grasp with a pen and paper,
I think
but I can
I
understand.
think that was really key, Brandyn, is that idea that you don't want to make it you don't want to use language that's out there. You want to simplify it. You want to make it very clear, very easy to understand, so that anybody grasps that whole. Your business could be very complicated, like you just mentioned, but ultimately you've got to come up with a language that simplifies it down to layman's terms, so that then they can go on, understand it, picture it, and move ahead. Pick that one problem. One of the other things I find, so many people in that want to say, every single thing they do, and people will, you've got to pick the one thing that's most important to them, that's going to drive it home. And then when they want more information, when you're leaving them wanting more and they want to know a bit more, you can tack in those other things along in the back of it, as opposed to trying to lead with all the verbal, baggage that goes around having 10 different things that you do. It's like, pick the one thing that's most important to your audience, and you might actually have several different one-liners, right, Brandyn? Because you're aligning those depending on your audience. And instead of trying to get all 10 things into one segment, you want to get one thing into one segment for the right audience.
Absolutely. So if you've got multiple different revenue streams or multiple different products, each one of those can have a very specialized and very individualized problem, solution, and life after, but then they can all fit into an umbrella. I'm thinking of Dave Ramsey right now, where he says financial peace. Well, that's a big umbrella. Well, within financial peace, you can become debt free. You can secure your retirement the way that you want. You can own your home and your car. All of those are underneath an umbrella, but have very specific niche or audiences that can have their own problem solution life
Yeah,
after.
no, I like that. And there's so many different ways you can use to, where do you use these one-liners outside of meeting somebody, at the local networking event? Where else would you use these sort of things?
But the great thing is, this is, first of all, back to a previous point that you made, it actually helps qualify your audience
Yeah.
too. But you can use it in a million different situations. If your wife is mad at you and you're coming home late because you stayed at the office till 7 when dinner was supposed to be at 6, you can walk in the door and say, babe, most husbands would walk in the door and never even acknowledge that they were an hour late. I promise to do the dishes after dinner so that you don't have to worry about it tonight. That's a problem, a solution, and a life after. It will work in millions of different situations, but when you start with a problem, not only can you grab their attention, but you can actually diffuse negative
Yeah, I like that too.
situations as well. And it works for businesses as well. When you acknowledge the problem, even in a customer service relationship, automatically you're diffusing that situation. But back to the point where most people are here, they're not trying to get out of their wife being mad at them. But you can use it in a million different ways. You can actually take this same formula. If you've got a great one-liner, you can actually post just the question, just the problem part in a social media post. And then pose the question, want to know the solution, and have people actually raise their hand and step towards your product, your service, your company, instead of you trying to chase new customers, because you've opened that story loop. You've presented that problem and said, you don't have to suffer from this anymore. Click here to find
There,
out how
there
I
are
will
so
solve it
many
for you.
areas to use this sort of framework. You can use it on your website and use it on your business cards. You can use it in your language and your social. You can use it. You can post it in behind your cash register at your store. I mean, there's just so many different ways of using this. And I really appreciate bringing this model to us here today, Brandyn. And, our time's almost up here. And I want to make sure that everybody has a chance to, be able to reach out to you, find out more about you if they want to dig more into this PSA model that you've come up with here today. Tell them a little bit about yourself and how to get a hold of you.
Well, my company is actually called ClearMessage. You can go to MyClearMessage/connect for a free 30-minute session. And I can help you create the answer to the question, what do you do, so that it actually makes you money. I can help you create that one-liner, absolutely free 30-minute session. Again, that's myclearmessage.com/connect. I would love to talk to you about that and help you learn the PSA framework. Change the way you answer the question, what do you do, so that you generate more leads. You're remembered when people see your business card later, and you actually make more money.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Brandyn. It's great to see you here, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again. And for those of you that are on Clubhouse, Brandyn and I are also often co-hosting on Clubhouse around the Simplifying Business Club, so you may see us over there as well. But anyway, it's great to see you here live today on video, and we'll talk to you soon, Brandyn.